Well, today I'm going to show you some of my recent acquisitions in terms of pieces of wood. Always on the lookout for bits of wood. I'm going to be making a chair maker's tool cabinet shortly, and also it's nice to pick up interesting bits of wood for chair splats and things like that. Well, a good place to look is if you have any sort of local wood yards, or perhaps even farmers who have portable sawmills and can mill up a bit of wood for you. It's surprising once you start asking around how people do, and I've got a local farm with one, so it's quite useful. I mean, show you as an example, this bit of wood here is actually beech. It's spalted beech, so it's beech that's had the fungus sort of colouring it rather beautifully. It doesn't overly show up on the plank, but once you plane it, it comes up like this with the most exciting sort of lovely patterns in the grain. So there it shows you a sort of contrast you get, the planed and the unplaned. But that would make a lovely drawer front for a chair maker's tool cabinet, amongst other things. An underrated wood in the UK is chestnut. And I mean, this is what the plank looks like. Rather boring, browny. But once you plane it up, look at that. Lovely grain on there. So I mean, these came, as I say, from a local farmer's sawmill, and quite reasonably priced, so worth keeping a lookout for this sort of thing, and that would make a lovely chair splat. Another source, fallen trees, and my sister has an old yew tree in her garden. It's quite a small garden, but it's got a lovely yew tree at the end. Branches have been coming off recently, and it's having some tree surgery. So I've got a long 5-foot branch of this, and it's again lovely orangey, yellowy white wood in there, which you can rive out or saw out and plane down, and you get lovely pieces of wood. It's only a 5-inch diameter, but again, for making bits of chairs, it's absolutely fine. What I'll show you next, I've got a little planing machine I use to actually prepare some of the wood. So when I get it from the sort of farm place, it's usually quite rough, and I cut it first of all to rough dimensions, and then pop it onto a metal planer to get it nice and square. It's a planer thicknesser, and it's quite an effective little tool. A bit noisy, not very nice to use in many ways, but it does do an excellent job. Well, to prepare my wood, I've got a little planer thicknesser machine. I find it's actually very nice being smaller because it's easy to move around in a workshop and store underneath a bench. It weighs about 25 kilograms. It has a 200mm 8-inch cutting width, and one can plane wood across the top. So it has a couple of fast rotating planer knives. The same planer knives can also thickness wood underneath, and one can feed the wood through underneath, and it goes on a couple of rollers and comes out lovely and smooth. Great little machine. This particular one's made by Axminster. Its model number, it's an MB9020. Well, it just shows you what you can do. Here's the wood before, piece of chestnut, rather algae-fied, and here it is afterwards, beautifully planed up. So I'm going to be making a chair maker's tool chest, and I'll show you some video of that later on. Okay, well here we are. This is sort of wood I've managed to accumulate and put through the planer. Various bits from local trees to local farmers to local skips. It just shows a sort of nice wood, spalted beech, cedar, chestnut, oak that you can get. So I'll be using some of this to make the chair maker's tool chest.